What we're talking about today is comics, food, and beverages, adding supplemental lines to your comic shop. Coffee, donuts, snacks, beer, wine, whatever you might want to add. Joining us as soon as possible, as from the airport, will be Aaron Holland, who runs a comic shop in Winter Park, Florida. This is right outside Orlando. It has 2 universities close to it, UCF, University of Central Florida, as well as Full Sail, which is a creative arts academy. Lots of directors, animators, film students go there. So he has a very creative clientele. And he has embraced that. And I tell Aaron he gets away with stuff that maybe wouldn't work in other areas because of the nature of his clientele. This is the storefront. Fairly unassuming, a comic shop. It's fairly typical. Inside, it's very traditional with wall racking, islands, and at the back is a nice little faux brick wall, which leads to the Geek Easy. So, speakeasy for geeks. My understanding is, speakeasies in the day were hidden and you had to know a password to get in. They've kind of camouflaged that. Now, this is version 2.0 of the Geek Easy. He has just renovated. He took the entire bay that used to be shared between the comic store and the bar, and now it is the entire bar. The comic store is now next door in a separate venue, so he has doubled the space of the bar, and he says his comics are still doing the same amount of business in the smaller location, so which is fabulous. If you can use less space to turn the same revenue, that's outstanding. I'll let him talk more about what goes on there when he gets in, but this gives you an idea of his branding with the Geek Easy Cube logo. They often have live DJs. They have both bottled beer and beer on tap. Custom lighting, Han Solo at the bar. It is a spacious room with its own stage. All the tables are movable, so you can have a dance floor. You can use the tables for gaming or any other type of event. And our other presenters, who are also moving their way through the building right now, I understand, are Jason and Lynette from Kim Shaw 13 Donuts, just about an hour away in Crown Point, Indiana. Unlike Aaron, who started as a comic shop and added food and beverage, they began as a hybrid. It's something they wanted to do. It was their vision from the very beginning. They are located in a historic district in Crown Point, and for better or worse, their signage has to match the exterior, which is why it's kind of a sepia tone. They bemoan the fact that they wish it was full color as well, but it is eye-catching. This is the marble-like exterior. It's an old bank. Like every good comic store, there's a nice selection of new comics. He pointed out to me that he intentionally racks by height, so young reader stuff is low, and as you get taller and older, you can reach the stuff that's more appropriate to you. Every bank should come with a vault. They have a built-in vault, which they use to house their more expensive collectibles and trade paperbacks. It is lockable, so they don't have to pay an extra insurance premium. They can just close that vault and everything is secure. They have customized it, of course, with the Shield logo and an assortment of trade paperbacks and other goodies. But what makes them stand out is the donuts. This is a view from the stairs at the back of the store. You can see their seating area. And the donuts, all made in-house from scratch. They are quite large. If all goes well, you might be able to sample 1 or 2 later today. They're bringing some bite-sized ones. Their normal donuts are easily 5 inches across and quite thick and very tasty. I'll have a close-up later on to show some of the flavors. Special concoctions and creations in the case every day. Chocolate old-fashioned cake, vanilla cake. They had an apple cake when I was there earlier because, of course, I made the sacrifice for you people to stop by and test them. Before I brought them here, I wanted to make sure the donuts were good. And after about 7, I can tell you they passed the test. I did. I didn't want to take the risk, and it's a quality product, I assure you. More baked goods in the case. And these are unfortunately a little dark, but this is where the magic happens. 2 separate kitchen areas, this one and that one. They are unfortunately separated, as Lynette was telling me.
And our kitchen is extremely small in comparison to most, because we do everything in small batches by hand. So we have more control over our product versus larger commercial kitchen styles where they have machinery that cuts and does everything. We cut all of our donuts by hand. We make, it's all, that mixer right there, it's a 80-quart mixer, so it can do about a 50-pound ball of dough at a time. So everything is as fresh as it can possibly be. So it's
We also
awesome.
had to convert a 1922 bank.
Yeah.
And I showed them the sign in the exterior.
Yeah,
so
you
they have
can't
that
really
good.
do anything when there's a vault in the middle of everything.
So let's back up and let you kind of tell your story. What was the inspiration behind this, and how did this come to be?
Originally, I had a retirement plan. My whole retirement plan was to go into having a coffee shop, a soda bar, a gaming, and a comic book store. That was my original idea. I had it as a retirement plan. This is like before I met my wife. And when I met my wife, I started bringing her more into pop culture. She's kind of a goober. She's from the northern part of California, you know, where they want to call it the state of Jefferson.
Yeah.
So it's very empty.
Cattle ranches.
Yeah, a lot of farming communities.
Fishing.
So she came here. I got her into role-playing D&D, cosplay, brought her to cons, and totally converted her into what she needs to be, you know? But then I baptized her by taking her to a Q&A with Kevin Smith. Yeah, so she, you know, like I said, goober, Kevin's a little rough.
Oh, boy.
And when he was up there telling his stories, he was talking about, the inspiration for the donut shop was him talking about walking 2 miles to a donut shop that's from his house and back to his house. And my wife made a comment. He goes, yeah, he has a comic book store in Jersey, right? I said, yeah. She goes, man, if he had a donut shop right next to his comic book store, he'd be 4 times the size. And we just started laughing. And then later on, she's looking at my idea on the computer. And she's like, we just moved to the Crown Point area. My biggest complaint was there were no donut shops. A fresh, handmade donut is either frozen, proofed, or garbage. You know, processed donut. So she goes, well, she was a pastry chef at the Mirage for 10 years.
Mirage in Las Vegas.
Yeah, so, you know, she kind of kept that a little bit of a secret. And she's like, well, she goes, what about donuts? I go, I don't know how to make a donut. She goes, it can't be hard. And that's it. She spent 3 months on just a dough recipe.
To go a little bit back, my family is from Italy. My grandmother's side of the family is from Portugal. So when my family came from Italy to America, my great-grandmother taught my grandmother, taught my dad, and my dad taught me how to make our family recipe. It's a sweet Italian bread. So I took that recipe and we tweaked it to turn it into our donut. So the flavor of our donut isn't like anything, you know, you can go anywhere and have a donut, and it's a donut.
Yeah.
But ours is a converted sweet Italian bread recipe that's now a donut.
Like I said, you can slice the top of the donut, take all the toppings off, and just eat the dough, and you see how fantastic it was. But the idea with the store is, you know, I've been around comic shops since I was a teenager, and comic shops come and go. And we all know that. It's unfortunate, but it's the way it is. And lots of people have the aspirations of having their own gaming and comic store, but maybe, you know, that first 2 years, it's hard. And it doesn't always work. So when I had my idea for retiring, I was like, I got to have a hybrid store. I got to have a hybrid store where one side can complement the other, but also it'd bring me in a different demographic. I worked as a dealer operations manager for a dealer group for years. I worked for Acura and Porsche. I mean, I spent 20 years learning how demographics work and getting people to come in to your business. And I took that and threw it into our shop. So when I created this, our demographic, in the first 3 months, I realized I had to change a lot of stuff, my ordering process and everything else. You know, an average comic shop, you expect your average person to come in, teenagers, to get them going. You know, I'm selling comic books to kids who can walk to the rack. I'm talking at 2 years old.
Yep.
They can't even read. They can see the pictures. My one comic rack, I call it my speed rack, is designed by how tall kids are. So literally, you're starting at Sonic the Hedgehog, My Little Pony, and it just works its way up. I always tell the parents, if your kid has to reach for it, they probably shouldn't have it. So eye level and down is perfect for them. So, you know, customers are coming in for donuts are coming over to kids. The kids see the comic shop out of the corner eye, but, you know, it's a different way of putting it. We have a donut shop surrounded by a comic book store. So it's not like one area. Everywhere around you in my shop is that comic shop. So those kids are immersed in it immediately. But so are the adults. So you have your older clientele, say Generation X or older, who used to read comic books. And they got out of the loop. They just stopped reading, or they just walked away from it. Now they're coming back. They're seeing the books. You know, I used to read these books. I used to read this. I used to read that. It also helps our business, because you have people coming in going, I've got boxes of comics at home I haven't touched in decades. Do you guys want them? You guys buy them? Do you take donations? So I pick up comics that come in,
yes.
collectibles that come in from people who have them sitting in their attics, garages, that they forgot about, abandoned. They're no longer collectors. They never found themselves also going into a comic book store. The Jedi mind trick is they walked into a donut shop and found themselves in a comic book shop. And they dig it. They really do. I mean, because we have families turning our store, it's a destination. It's not a place just to go. It's a plan.
Well, and the other side of that is, we have families who have been bringing their children in since we've opened, so I'm working on 4 years worth of birthday parties, for their first, their second, their third, so now
Yeah,
I've
she
got
does,
return clientele every
35
single
plus
year.
weddings a year.
Yeah, I do weddings, the whole 9 yards, so.
So, and we're doing weddings that aren't just for donuts. We're doing superhero themed weddings. People do their bridal photo shoots in the store. They borrow our towers, which we have towers that are superhero themed. So, you have a question?
What's your percentage, diamond sale versus your resale?
On a balance, I would say it's probably 70-30
Roughly.
to comics. But I also have a part that I don't count on my comics is my auctions. So the auction stuff that I do independently and stuff, I don't have that on our store floor.
So your food sales are 30% of?
Yeah, our food sales would be 70%.
30, yeah.
70% is your food
Yeah.
sales versus-
Well, the cool part about it is, state of Indiana, I don't
Oh.
have to charge tax on my donuts.
Yeah,
So-
food, we don't have to have
Yeah.
church tax.
Really? Not even
No.
compared to stuff?
And we
So-
will have some time for questions at the end. So I want you to have questions, but if we can hold them at the end, it may throw me off list. So I'd appreciate that. Aaron, welcome. Thank you.
Hi.
Thank you for hustling and getting here from the airport.
Yeah.
So this is
Wasn't
Aaron.
good.
I have showed them pictures of your fabulous store.
Because we're 25 minutes late.
So I showed them pictures of kind
yeah?
of the Geek Easy 2.0 as well as the new ones you sent me.
Right.
So if you could please tell us what was your inspiration and how did this come about?
How I had a comic book store. I wanted to have it right across the street from a university. So it was like a record store going out of business, and I was like, I need that spot. So I got that spot right across the street from Full Sail University. It's like a film, video game type school. And we were getting so many college-age people in, and I like to drink, and we would have parties, and we'd have a keg. We had that R2-D2 thing that was at the 7-Elevens, and we put the keg in there and ice around it and, pumped out beers. And we were doing that probably like every month. We'd come up with an excuse for it, some comic book event or something. And then some space became available that could connect to my existing space, but it was like in an L shape, and I said, I can't really do retail there because it would be like a shoplifter's paradise, but I said we could make it a speakeasy and call it the Geek Easy, and I said that as a joke, but everyone made me do it after that because they liked the idea. And we went through all the licensing, and I had to do background checks to get the alcohol license, and then we had to sell food because we couldn't get a license as a bar because we're too close to an elementary school. So we're a restaurant that sells beer, but our beer sales are probably 80% more than the food. So, and it's positioned in a way kind of like the comic shop. It was the same size it was, but it became more like a gift shop where people had to exit through and enter in to get to the bar. And as we started coming up with things, karaoke was huge. So we would fill up the place with the roommates of people that like comics, just anyone adjacent to comics in any way. They'd say, oh, bring them here, and then they'd start buying stuff. So we started ordering more and more of the just one-shots, volume one, the $10 image volume ones, just things to hook people. And it pretty much worked pretty well. The thing that I didn't really foresee was the bar was doing so well. Sales were about half and half, but the markup was better on beer. So there's that. And people like to drink late, and we can sell alcohol till 2 a.m., so we were open to 2 a.m. more and more, like every weekend, and then more days if we had some event or some band coming through or whatnot, that it really blew up my payroll for the comic shop. So that was an unforeseen thing, because with a bar, the bartenders make $5 an hour, and there's no real competition for that. I mean, they just want heavy tips. They want volume and lots of customers and heavy tips. So $5 an hour is negligible, but paying a comic shop person $15 an hour to stand there until 2 a.m. when there's might not be very much sales from midnight to 2, that was an issue. So.
Well, let's talk a little bit about some of those unseen expenses, whether they be city logistics or surprises about payroll. I mean, what took you guys by surprise when you brought these food and beverage items in?
Oh, the payroll totally took me by surprise.
Yeah, in the
You know,
beginning, we definitely
We had overhired in the very beginning. And they were like,
Anticipation was really, really high. And then you take that into consideration, like at our shop, we are giving your kids their first jobs.
Yep.
We are hiring 16-year-olds, never had a job before in their life, and giving them that responsibility. And we've rotated through that. I mean, some kids work out, some kids just are
Don't.
meant to stay in the basement playing Halo.
Yeah.
So, I mean, so, you know, we try, but, yeah, you don't see that cost. And of course, the more employees you have, the higher your insurance. So the more people you have on that payroll, the higher your insurance is at your store for liability. So these little things just start to tack up, you know, $100 here, $50 here, and then all of a sudden, before you know it, you're going, wow.
Then you just have to, like in our area, we're in Old Town Crown Point. There's tons of bars, and we don't serve any form of alcohol. We try to stay focused on everything but that, because that's other businesses. They gain from, you know, serving alcohol and food, and where we're able to hook families in and get more volume of people to the square that wouldn't necessarily go there, because we're the only kid-friendly store or shop in the downtown Crown Point area.
That's true.
So finding the right niche, the right time to open, the right amount of hours to be open, because we're not a typical comic book store.
But your cost, the way you're saying is cost is, that's where it becomes a factor, because you deal with the Historic Society.
Oh,
So
yeah.
you have a plan to put up a sign, and it takes you 5 weeks to get your sign up, because I don't like that color. It can't be that. It won't be that.
It's
You have
gotta
to
blend.
deal with every politician that shows up. You decide to put a banner outside. That banner's 2 feet too high. You just put a flag outside your store.
It can only be out on
I'm
the
sorry,
weekends.
you can't have that flag
Yeah.
out during the week. It's gotta be
So-
the weekends only. Or literally what we did was made friends with the mayor to get permission to have stuff done.
Yeah, so make friends with the mayor.
And even even your signage on your building, you know, you don't think about, you know, how much a sign would cost to be installed on your storefront. It could run anywhere between the low of $2,200 to $22,000, depending on your signage.
Yeah.
I mean, it's unbelievable what contractors and everybody who comes in, the electricians and all the zoning things, you're going, wow, I had no idea. I just wanted to open up a store, you
Yeah,
know?
and the other, and I don't know what you went through with
Your build
putting
out?
your build out, but for us, we had 4 times we had to wait?
Plumbers
Because the
sucked.
plumber was a.
I hated the
Ugh.
plumber.
The plumber just kept making mistakes, and so we couldn't pass inspections because the plumber just kept messing up on our pipes.
I think,
Yeah.
Aaron, you just put in a new vent hood.
Oh, yeah, well, I had
you
a
have a hood?
plumbing problem too with, okay, so there's state regulations, county regulations, and city regulations.
Yeah.
And the diameter of the pipes are different for
Each one.
And the plumber, you know, licensed plumber, and he had put the wrong width in there.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, no, this is past the state inspection. I'm like, dude, I got a county inspection that, you know.
Yeah.
So
You come
that-
across other things too, like
And I had to widen the pipe, which
we
delayed
found out our
things.
plumbing inspector was the guy who bid it on our first job. And we didn't hire him because he was like $8,000 too
outrageous.
high.
Yeah.
And then he comes in and I go, aren't you the guy we bid it? Yeah, but you didn't use me. Because you
Right.
were insanely high. So
Yeah.
is that how it works?
He red
If you're the
flagged us 4
inspector,
times.
you get you know, so I mean, there's a,
And there's just different things with the inspectors, so there's different inspectors, like,
for
we had the health inspector said when we turned in our menu that we wanted to do, that we didn't need a commercial hood for grease vapors because we were only doing grilled cheese sandwiches on like a panini press. But then when the fire marshal came in he shut us down for like 2 days and made us get a commercial hood that cost several grand after we totally didn't budget for that because our health inspector said we didn't need it for what we were doing in there.
Yeah.
And that took a crane to install, right?
Yeah, it took like a crane to install something on the roof and cut a hole in the roof and getting
had-
the landlord to give permission for that.
Fire inspector, the
Yeah.
whole 9 yards.
So
Yeah.
adding food and beverage has some logistical hoops you might have to
its
jump
cost.
through. But
You've got to think of the cost. Like, has anybody here ever bought a commercial mixer? You know they cost as much as a car. I didn't know that. When somebody told me an 80-quart mixer, brand new, cost $55,000, I just wanted to go back home.
We found a Yugo.
You know, so, you know, or if you saw our fryer, he has a hood. We have a ventless fryer with a built-in fire suppression system. So we have everything that he has, but contained. Trust me, it would have been a lot cheaper to build a hood than buy that machine. But we shopped used, found it, brought it in, but, yeah, never be afraid to look for product. Don't always buy new, that's for sure.
so let's talk a little bit about some of the advantages of adding the food and beverage now that we've talked about some of the scary
Oh,
stuff.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You referenced telling people their first comic book when they come to get a donut.
Always.
I know, Aaron, you get the college students that maybe don't know about comics yet. So how are
Or,
you bringing in
they
new
just-
people?
They don't read comics. They're like, oh, I don't collect comics. They're like, I don't care. You know, you drink beer. You know, you want to have friends. This is what we do.
Yeah.
So,
So you shame them into conversion pretty much.
yeah, like any cult, I guess. But you know, everyone has something they like. That yeah, I guess we were seeing that all these college-age kids were spending beer money elsewhere. And when they said, oh, they didn't have money to buy all the books in their pull because they went out Friday night downtown and, you know, had a huge bar tab, and, you know, now their bar tab can be with us.
And still getting their 100% of their comic money.
Yes, and then, you know, make sure they buy their comics first before, but
Now, you probably are not selling kids their first comic in the bar.
No,
no.
we are.
But we do have birthday parties, and we've had weddings, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And, you know, we're gonna do that Batman wedding.
And you game
mock-up.
nights?
Yeah.
Yeah,
and
so in the
trivia
game nights, well, and game nights can sell games. So we've done that where we play tested a game like Zombie Side, did a play test night. We sold Zombie Side after that, you know. You take Betrayal, do a game night. You know, it's free. Come in and play this game. Then they're coming in and I want to see the game, and you have the game in stock. You know, so that's one of the ways to get games pushed was to play test the game for anyone to play it and just keep it going. You get people to dig it, they buy the game, and they keep coming back for it. We do that with the kids. You know, we start at 12 years old to teach them how to play D&D. So we come into our store for free every other Friday, and if they're 12 or older, we actually sit down and we teach them how to play. So, and what happens with that? Nothing's cheap in D&D. Every book, every supplement.
Some of these things like the midnight releases, the metal one
Oh, yeah.
with Scott Snyder, we did, we do trivia every Tuesday night. So we did DC trivia, had a full house for that. And then Scott Snyder Skyped in. It was crazy. We had prizes. Scott actually bought everyone pizza at midnight just
Oh,
because
that's
had it
awesome.
That
delivered.
is awesome.
But with the selling of the alcohol or the food or whatnot, that makes it so I can pay a trivia host $150 to come up with the questions, oversee it, have whatever's on the monitors and music and just the full entertainment value of a nerd trivia. But because I can sell so much of the beer, if I was relying only on comic sales, there'd be no way. There's no way I'd do that, and I certainly wouldn't do that every week.
You
But-
selling trinkets too, you know, like keychains, little
Yeah.
things like that.
Pop figures, all that junk.
Yeah, I was gonna say, because, you know, with all the movies out there, your college kids in the movies transition to the bar, and everyone wants a knick-knack, a shelf item.
Right. And the
something.
trivia, we do themes, and,
Yeah.
you know, we boutique out an end cap of whatever
That's
trinkets
cool.
we have of
That's
that theme.
perfect, yeah, that's perfect.
We have about 5 minutes left. I had 2 more questions I wanted to ask each of you. That's good stuff. Obviously, Orlando is a major metropolitan area. Crown Point is a smaller town with a historic district. So you have different respective communities. But how have those respective communities embraced the change in the store or the concept that you offer?
Oh, for us, they jumped on it. It's, my wife told you that the downtown square is gorgeous, but unfortunately, it is dominated by 2 restaurants and bar restaurants.
Bars and antique
So,
shops.
so if you have a kid, you're not gonna go antiquing, and you're not gonna go eat at the bar. Some of the bars, you can't actually have children in there. They have to be 21 and older, so, it's just, there's nothing there for it. And
We
they
have
embrace
kids, we have
family
little
community.
kids that get to the front door of our shop, and as soon as they open the door, and they're like, "We're here!"
Yeah, that happens all the
That's-
time.
That's the best.
They
Just
feel they
little-
need to come fully dressed in their gear.
Yep.
Their uniforms, not pajamas or costumes, because it's PJ Maxx Thursday, I'm telling you.
Yeah.
I didn't even know what it was. I didn't be told. It's hilarious, so the community loves it. And then
We're very well,
we-
greatly embraced by the community. It's
we did a couple
awesome.
of TV shows. She won Donut Fest in Chicago, wiping out all the Chicago donut shops. And then she got the WGN Channel 9.
With that donut.
Yeah, WGN Channel 9 rated us number 6 in the Great Lakes area as the best donut out there. So number 6 out of 10, that's not bad. I just got to knock out the top 5.
You got time. You got time. And Aaron, how about the college students and other people?
Well, we had, I had my vision of, a place where I could be the coolest guy in the room. But the feedback we got, we started kind of marketing that way. Like, you don't want to drive downtown, have to pay to park. You don't want to be part of some kind of meat market. You don't want to be around a bunch of frat boys and, have whatever fights or nonsense. And we got a lot of feedback from women that they like going there because, they don't get constantly hit on by, at downtown bars. So we, started promoting that it's just more chill, relaxed. This is a place where you can have a drink, you can dance. We have dance nights too. We call it Geek Cheesy because we play the cheesiest music ever at the Geek Easy, and we give free grilled cheese out during that. But
That's cool.
It's perfect.
But yeah, we just kind of went with that. We're nerds, we're geeks. We just want to have a good time and chill. It's not some big, complicated kind of Tinder hookup downtown type of
See
thing.
that Depeche Mode for an hour.
Right.
Now, are you marketing the comics and the Geek Easy together, or do you market them separately and let the crossover happen once they're in the store?
I market them separately unless there's a actual overlap, like with themed trivias or midnight releases, or whenever. Or we do movie viewings. I don't know if we're really supposed to, but we do.
We do.
Okay,
But
we'll delete that.
when
from the recording.
when it makes sense to, we do it together. But when it doesn't, we just let it happen.
Okay. How about for Kim Shaw?
But we ask them, if you're with Marvel, we'll change it off the Fire Stick and go back, turn Cody off.
No.
No, I'm just kidding. We do that too. We play movies nonstop. We have a theme where we play nothing but pop culture or superhero themed movies. We try to censor it, so to speak, because, like I said, there's little kids in there. So every once in a while, turn the volume down for the language, but I'm not playing Deadpool.
What is your
Yeah.
advertising for both
But
comics and
always.
donuts
Oh,
together?
yeah,
Always.
because it's Kim Shaw 13 Donuts and Comics. So
It's a great compliment, and
Yeah.
it's, the people who want comics, like my subscribers love the fact that we open up at 8 a.m.
And before we close, explain the name, because I did not do that.
Chemshaw 13, believe it or not, is a figurine of wondrous power that turns into a magic shop that's been in my D&D game for almost 19 years. And it looks like a Greek Parthenon. When we were leasing the building, we were sitting across the street from it, looking at the building like this, going, the hell are we going to call it? Because we created our LLC as Zombie Donuts. We thought it would be cool to call it Zombie Donuts. Then we looked, and there's Zombie Donuts
there's a
exist
bar on the
everywhere.
other side of the square called Zombie,
So I'm like,
Zombie Club.
Oh, way to be unoriginal. And then I go, well, it looks like Chemshaw 13. She goes, what? Yeah. And she goes, no one's going to know what that means. I go, who cares?
So,
They'll
And it just
ask,
kinda
I'll
stuck.
tell them who Samuel Chemshaw is, the 13th proprietor of a figurine of wondrous powers. And they'll go, huh? That's fine.
that's it.
I go, the people who need to know, they'll know. The gamers will know.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
So-
Fair enough. We have about 10 minutes left for questions. If you care to raise your hand. Sir?
Yeah, so I've been doing some looking into this too, and as far as like POS solutions, I'm wondering what you guys use, because it seems like there's nothing that's super friendly to both retail and food and beverage. So like, what have you come up with? You just use two systems and then reconcile yourselves, or what?
Reconcile myself.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's basically it, because her register is kept very simple. And that reason being, like I said, we hire your children as our first-time cashiers. So simple buttons, no
Yeah.
main menu screens, nothing fancy. Comics is a different register. It's very well organized. So, and then when we just come down every week to do the numbers, it's the only way to do it. There is no great answer. I really wish there was, but like in the beverage
Yet.
industry, they
We're
have a
working on it.
ton of POS systems and, like in bars, because I've been a bartender. So, I mean, but in our business, it's impossible to do that.
Yeah, for me,
Not
it's
impossible.
two separate businesses for me. Separate registers. That we have Comic Suite for the comics, and then a custom POS that was made for bars. That wasn't that expensive.
So are they strict, like two separate businesses down the line? Like, do you even do accounting separately for both, or?
Yeah,
Yeah, we don't.
yeah, I do. I don't know. I was already doing the one first, so that's
Yeah.
probably.
I just have everything set up on QuickBooks and I just run it all together. So,
Mm-hmm.
but obviously pay for an accountant or be in trouble later. So,
So for either of you, looking at, I know your model kind of started earlier with Join, and then your model kind of separate than, further separate. Do you find gaming nights when you're offering the different food or themes for the food, they stay longer, or play longer, or buy more things in the shop, that they're playing the game, they're eating, they're tasting?
Oh, yeah. For us, I mean, we don't have the alcohol side, but when we do a gaming night, we have the donuts out. And, I mean, donuts and sodas will, especially, we'll run out of Mountain Dew, you know? Or we'll theme donuts for gamers night. We have a Barry Allen donut, you know, the Fantastic Four. We make donuts
Red
out of
Mountain
Mountain
5.
Dew. Yeah, the Red Mountain 5 donut, which is Red Bull, Mountain Dew, and 5-hour energy turned into a glaze, put on a donut. And it's like they can't get enough. They gotta go.
It's cracked.
It tastes like sweet tarts, but you know, it works.
In the back?
How do you folks respectively break apart your business day? You guys have to make donuts, you have to shop.
I get up at 2:00 in the morning and we open at 8. So everything for the donut side is we come in and we make everything fresh from scratch super early in the morning. And then I have a decorator that works on the donut side, and we have a cashier that handles comics and the cashiering for that side. So,
And I usually see her about 10 a.m. and then I go to the store.
yeah.
Yeah, I have a bar manager and a comic book manager. And the comic shop manager isn't the guy there at nighttime. And the bar manager is the guy there at nighttime. So, and I just have like a register jockey at nighttime in the comic shop.
Gray shirt?
Absolutely.
Metropolis.
Right at Chicago, Metropolis Coffee
We
in
serve
Chicago.
Metropolis coffee.
Yeah.
You have to have Metropolis coffee.
Well, they had me sold with two things. Number one, they're all ex-gamers. I didn't know that, and it's called Metropolis.
Yeah.
How the hell can I have it?
How can you not have
Yeah.
Metropolis coffee in Superman
Yeah.
and Wonder Woman's shop?
And thank God it's awesome.
And do you do coffee, Aaron?
No, I do energy drinks.
Sir?
Do you guys have any plans to expand your franchise?
Actually, already, it's in the works. So we were approached by the largest franchising group out there, FranCorp, and we're in the 5 stages of it. We're in stage 3. So by this year, the concept, the business plan will be available. So they're doing it right now. Yeah. So, and we broke it up into 2 different ways. So somebody could own the entire idea of Chemshaw 13 Donuts and Comics. Or if somebody owns a comic shop and they want to complement it, like let's say it's called, I was telling Eric, if you had Eric's Comics, I wouldn't want to take away anything from Eric's Comics, but Eric could have Chemshaw 13 and Eric's Comics. So he would only be buying a portion of that franchise.
It would be called Chemshaw 13 Donuts and Eric's Comics.
So it would always, that part would not, be towards his franchise. It'd be solely his own, but it would have to be pre-existing. So as long as they have the comic shop already and they want to add that as a complement, especially if somebody has a business in historic districts, this concept works awesome.
Yeah.
Aaron, any plans to expand or franchise if somebody gives you a bag of cash?
We're still waiting for that bag of cash.
Yeah, we had to give up the bag of cash to
Yeah.
start this process.
Yeah.
I mean, I have my hands full doing what I'm doing now. I have 2 young kids and all that, but if someone wanted to give me a bag of cash, I would.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dennis?
What's the big downside I want to know is, we all know the downside of comic book shops. You're going to have a half-off trade bin, you're going to have $1 comic boxes, you have to lug them around to shows. What's the downside for, I guess, a lost, do you have discount donut day where you say, how many donuts do you have left?
Our donuts are made fresh, and at the end of the day, what is left over, because we keep track, so we have a number. You learn that as you keep, going. And at the end of the day, we donate to disabled vets, senior citizens, police and fire. Trust.
What is that quantity? What's that percentage?
It's really no,
it's a small percentage.
It is very
'Cause,
low.
Yeah,
She's real good.
We've been able to, because we've been doing this for 4 years now, we've been able to really reel it in to know exactly how much we need to make on any given day. Some days are slower, other days we're like psychotic and we sell out. We
sell out a
generally
lot.
sell out almost every single weekend.
But it's a cycle sheet for
Yeah,
donuts,
yeah.
essentially.
And Aaron, clearly liquor doesn't go bad, but what's your skunk beer? Do you have to, give away half-price beer?
No, we get beer deliveries almost daily from different distributors, so we keep it close. And I've never had beer go bad except when we lost power for 4 days for a hurricane. That looked like prohibition with us just throwing out beer. But,
So basically, the thing is food and drinks is actually less, I guess, deteriorating than.
If you have good control over it,
Yeah,
and
you have
you
to have
manage it
somebody
well,
who, yep, if you decide to go into this type of thing with the donuts anyway, you have to have somebody who has worked in the restaurant industry, not necessarily fast foods like McDonald's, but something fast-paced, so that they know quality control, they know how to order properly, you know how to rotate properly. The thing with me is I'm ordering on a weekly basis, so everything rotates out.
and
So
she
I
runs her
usually,
kitchen like Gordon Ramsay.
I am so Gordon Ramsay.
She is a
it's not even
titan back
funny.
there.
Yeah.
Let's try to get 2 more quick ones in.
I came here a little late, so I don't know if I missed this, but since you guys have become more of a hangout spot, do you have a problem with customers viewing it as a donut shop and a comic-like library?
No, here's how we solve that problem. If you walk into our store, there's a sign that says, "Sorry, we don't have Wi-Fi. Pretend it's 1987."
Talk to
You
each
would
other.
be surprised how loitering disappears when there's no Wi-Fi.
Yep.
I mean, gamers.
Reading the comics.
Oh no,
Oh,
no,
no,
no, no! They come in. They buy their. Some people will buy their comics, sit and read, buy their comics and leave. No one uses it at a library.
We police
And
it pretty
plus,
good.
that's the other thing. We engage our clients immediately. I see somebody with donuts and they go get a book. I'm like, dude, if you're gonna eat that donut, you gotta keep the comic over there. Unless you're buying it, it's all you. But if you're gonna stick your finger up that donut, you own it. You know, so they know that, and we watch and pay attention
And
to
we
that.
have signs,
We have signs, but more importantly is the employees. It's not an employee in my shop that won't pay attention to anything like that going on.
That's the thing that is a big difference, is our employees talk to our customers. A customer won't come in. As soon as they enter the building, we're like, hey, welcome to Chemshaw. So they've been acknowledged.
Engaged, yeah.
And we talk to them, we make them feel welcome. So there's really no problems with that, so.
I found that it helped some with my hangout problems because it's like a speakeasy and it's separate. There's a door, but it's separated, and it's like, don't bring any unpurchased items in here, but if you buy it, you can bring it in there and spill beer on it all you want. But instead of people just hanging around, just, like talking to my employee while my employee's trying to help another customer, they can just go in there and annoy someone else in there. So it's helped some.
Plaid shirt, in fact.
I want to say thanks for coming, Sharon, I appreciate it, pretty informative. I did have a question, you mentioned, the initial demographic was incorrect, and I was curious as to, why or what that is, or
Well-
did it have anything to do with?
I've had 6 good friends that all own comic stores. Out of the 6, 5 closed their comic shops. And I've been in all their comic book stores as a gamer, as a customer, especially as a customer. And I just look around you to see who's in that store. And the youngest person might be 12. And I'm not seeing kids wander around the store. I'm not seeing moms bring their 4 and 5 and 6-year-old children into comic shops. Moms. Every once in a while, dad might be with somebody, but women were, really low going into a comic shop. It's not that they don't, but you just didn't see it that often. Now, some of my subscribers are half women. They're also children. I've got kids ages 8 to 13, and they're subscribing to books so they can get their comics.
So basically, we set up in the beginning as if it was a normal, you
For a
know,
standard comic shop.
Yes, and then we're like, oh, wow, we have tons of kids coming in here. We've got to reorder.
I didn't order any comic books that were,
We-
like, say,
we were told that-
child-friendly. Like, My Little Pony was the closest thing I had, but I didn't order Sonic. I didn't order, Steven Universe. I didn't have
And
those
we were
comics.
told that in our area, for all the comic shops, we had the highest number of sales for My Little Pony in all of the comic shops
I was
in our
buying My
area.
Little Pony comics, I still do, from other comic shops who don't sell them.
Yeah.
Was there one more question on this side? Sir?
When you walk into your shop, what's the first thing you see? Comics
Oh,
or
no.
coffee and donuts?
Well, as soon as you walk in, if you look left, right, and straight, yes. That is the best answer.
Yes,
You are
everything.
literally surrounded by the comic book store,
How tall
and
is
the
the
donut
ceiling?
stand is, our ceilings are 35 feet.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you're talking about the inside of a 1922 bank. They can see the vault at the back end, and of course, I put 111 above the vault. So, and they go back there, they see the door, it's 1.5 feet of steel and iron, it's all functional. And, I mean, they forget where they are. They're in a comic shop, they see the vault, they see the store, the pillars that are going up on the walls, it's very Romanesque. So they take in the ambiance, and then they start looking around and, like
Some
a-
people get a little overwhelmed because.
Yeah, they get
But then
thrilled
other
by it.
people who are like looking for that big, huge comic book, they're like, this is different. This is really different.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, that's true.
yeah.
It definitely does not smell like an average comic shop.
When you're set up, what does it look like from the front doors?
Well, it depends if they're coming in through the comic shop or if the comic shop's closed and they're coming in through the other side. But it was just comics only, like a real speakeasy. But now it doesn't have to be that way because I changed it so the comic shop can be open when the store is closed. My demographic little thing problem was I wanted people to come and drink during the day like me, and people tend to, when my comic shop was open, but turns out people want to drink at night, so I had to have the store open later. But I dealt with it.
Well, thanks to the three of you for coming. I appreciate your rushing to make it.
Thank you.